Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dalrin, and this video is going to be a little bit less impromptu. I do have a couple questions written on the screen, but I just kind of want a free flow. I haven't really been talking much about WoW Classic, or Classic WoW, however you want to say it. I haven't been talking that much about it. I'm super excited for BFA. I'm just finishing on whatever I have left over in Legion. I cannot wait to get into BFA. But eventually, after BFA, will come Classic WoW. And it is a game that I definitely am going to be playing. So this video is more or less just going to talk a bit about my opinions and my thoughts and what I'm going to do whenever Classic WoW comes out, because I am going to play it. I kind of wish, you know, playing World of Warcraft now, that when I moved from Russia to United States, that somebody, honestly, I wish there was somebody in my life that brought me on to vanilla World of Warcraft. Because World of Warcraft is the type of game I always wanted to play. Let's take a game like Halo, right? You're the main hero, Spotlight. Lots of us have played Halo. The game revolves around you. You are the hero, you're the catalyst for the story, blah, blah, blah. I kind of just like being a part of a puzzle, just a small piece of a bigger whole in a bigger world, and kind of just get to choose what I want to do with it. And a game like World of Warcraft ended up being up my alley. It's just when I moved here from Russia, I mean, I didn't even know what the hell internet was, so can you really blame me? But World of Warcraft Classic is going to be an experience I do want to relive, or at least live the first time around, because I wish I played it. Part of the fun is the experience of the actual expansion. And it's kind of cool that Blizzard is going about saying stuff like, oh, transmogs won't be there, achievements won't be there, you know, it'll be as classic as vanilla as possible. And honestly, I feel like no matter how you look at it, whether they want to have bug fixes, better textures, better models and whatnot, which I'll talk about towards the end of the video as well, I feel like part of what you're trying to get out of the classic part is the experience. So even if you have to play with, let's say, character models with, you know, jaws that look like they're flapping, or lower resolution textures, or maybe some archaic style models, I think that's part of the fun of the experience. It's something everybody should experience when it comes to Classic WoW. It's just part of the playstyle, part of the game, and without it, you won't have the core experience of Classic World of Warcraft. Now, first of all, which spec am I going to play? What class am I even going to play? Am I going to play Rogue? A lot of people are wondering what class I'll be playing, and first I thought, okay, maybe Rogue would be fun, but at the same time, World of Warcraft Legion and World of Warcraft Vanilla are two completely different beasts. For example, a lot of classes back in Vanilla, at least from what I can see, from a lot of the, I guess, people's recallings and retellings of the expansion, it's not spec specific. You mostly are a class. You are a rogue, you are a mage, you are a priest, and you kind of just change your spec depending on what is needed. For example, you're not going to trot into a, let's say, fire lens as a fire mage. Even, you know, everything is a fire mob, and they probably have a pretty high fire resistance. So all the mages having to spec for the situation. If, let's say, you want a PvP, then that's fine, but, you know, it wasn't very spec specific. So me being a proud Outlaw rogue, trying to play Outlaw as best as I can, I simply won't be able to do something like that. I will be stuck to a class, so I have to look at the bigger, broader picture of what the classes are all about. And I feel like Rogue ends up being just almost a different class compared to all the different various specs that we have, or what we have with Rogues right now. So sometimes I feel like maybe it would be cool to check out what kind of where the Rogues started as, see where the Rogues kind of began, where the journey begins with the class. But at the same time, I feel like it'll be a whole another beast that maybe it might be worth for me to check out another spec altogether. On top of it, Vanilla is full of specializations that simply were not viable. And as somebody who loves a challenge, as somebody who's been playing combat since Mr. Pandaria, where back in MoP for PvP, it was honestly a garbage spec. I am super excited about trying to make it work when it comes to Vanilla. Trying to get that challenge for me, you know, just trying to make anything work within the game concept. So this is actually really good. So I'm looking for opportunities to challenge myself, but I also would like to check out Rogue. I'm still not sure exactly where I would play there. Also, another question people are asking me, PvP or PvE? Whether I would be doing mostly PvP, trying to, you know, go for Grand Marshal or whatever the alternative is. High Warlord, I think, for the Horde. Not 100% an RBG guy whatsoever. Or if I'm going to do PvE. My original thought process is I kind of want to do both. I want to experience everything. I want to experience the 40-man raiding. I want to experience, like, what, 10-man dungeons? I mean, that just sounds insane in my head and sounds absolutely awesome and amazing. I like just the idea of it. I just like shopping the idea of, hey, 10-man dungeons. What is it, maybe 20-man dungeons? 40-man raiding, although, does sound insanely cool. But Also, my question is, am I going to be able to do PvP, where I'm doing battlegrounds and grinding and, you know, hanging out in Alterac Valley for days and days and days on end, or at least trying to spend as much time there as I can, grinding that honor? Is it possible to do both and really put a lot of time into it, you know, do PvP, do raids, and have enough time just to even, I guess, have an IRL life? Because I want to be able to play BFA, but also want to be able to play Classic. I want to be able to continue making YouTube videos as well as streaming. So there's going to be a good chunk of my time that will be taken out. So for anybody that played back in vanilla, or people that are playing private servers right now, you don't have to be like, hey, I'm playing private servers right here. Just let me know if it's possible to like have enough time to just at least, you know, be PvE specific and then casually dip your toes into PvP and get in some actual meaningful content, or do you just kind of have to go ham to really get a lot of it? Ultimately, I would like to do just about everything, but I know that vanilla World of Warcraft back in the day was a game where you had to spend a lot of time just playing it, just playing through and investing so much time into the game to really get the most out of it. Another question I'm getting asked is Horde or Alliance. Personally, I would like to come in as a Horde. I think orcs, undead, trolls, tauren, you have a lot of variety of how, I guess, different shapes and sizes of all the different characters. I would think warlocks, mages, shamans, all those guys would look so cool on all these different races, and how the gear would look at them. There would be so much variety. You're going through Armory, it just looks so colorful. On the Alliance, for the longest time, especially with just vanilla races, you have humans, then you have slightly taller humans with long ears, you have shorter humans, and then the shortest humans. So it just doesn't get that much variety. So that's really why I would want to do that. Also, Armory, I feel like in vanilla looked, it's not that much different, but a lot different to what it looks like right now, while Stormwind on the other side looks more or less similar, at least it does to me. So essentially, I would want to play on a Horde side, but to me, it doesn't really matter whether I play Horde or Alliance. Hopefully, whenever vanilla comes out, or whenever WoW Classic comes out, I'll have a group of people that I can play the game together with. So I'll just ask them, hey, what faction do you guys think we should do? And just kind of decide from there on there. Just, hey, let's just choose one faction, Alliance or Horde. To me, it doesn't really make a difference, because overall, I think I'll be pretty excited and pretty happy. One thing I really like with a Horde or Alliance is that there's going to be definitely a variety no matter what you end up doing, as a lot of the races were constricted from certain classes. For example, humans could not be hunters, so that was a really cool idea. So let's say you have a bunch of hunters, they are either going to be night elves or dwarves, compared to, let's say, in PvP right now, if you're running into a battleground as an Alliance, at least 75% of the participants are probably going to be all humans. So you're going to have a little bit less of that homogenization, you know, certain races being locked out to certain classes kind of deal. So I really like that idea. I really like that concept. So no matter which one I end up playing, I like that aspect about both of the factions. But if I had to ultimately choose whether I would rather run around with paladins or shamans, I think shamans would be absolutely awesome. I know the paladins were pretty cool and everybody likes the whole paladin thing, but I think the shaman concept is the idea, and the class fantasy of the shaman is just super cool. I'd rather run in a raid with a I guess a wise shaman, you know, leading the charge and helping out the team, rather than some kind of victorious paladin, church boy McGee, you know what I mean? At least that's how I view it. Another question that other people have been asking me is, what do I think in terms of, I guess, let's say, achievements, or transmogs, or fixing bugs, or maybe adding for the game a little bit extra textures, you know, for somebody who did not play back in vanilla and doesn't want to play with older models. Like, why wouldn't we add newer models? Well, that's one of the things I want to talk about is, let's first ask, who is Vanilla Classic for? And I think that's an actually good question, and I really want to ask that for a while. Who is WoW Classic for? Is it for your average Jane and Joe that's, you know, just a basic consumer just trying to play another aspect of, or I guess in some sense, almost another expansion or version of World of Warcraft? Or we just make another MMO for your brand new consumer in 2018? Or is vanilla WoW, the classic WoW experience, more of a experience for people that are already playing current vanilla servers? The way I look at classic World of Warcraft is it's meant to attract both audiences, but I feel like it's in some sense works as a, and I don't know if this is offensive or not, but at least this is how I can describe it, kind of like the WoW token. Blizzard knows that there's going to be people that will buy gold. You can't really stop people from buying gold. But what they can do is give you avenues to do that safely and without breaking any TOS by adding the WoW token. So I guess Blizzard gets a little bit of that cut, and then you can still buy your gold because people are gonna do it anyway. I feel like people that are playing private servers and playing Classic WoW are gonna do that anyway. So that's part of the reason to bring in WoW Classic, so then Blizzard can make a little bit of moolah off of it. And since people are gonna do it anyway, just I guess market it to everybody else that never played Classic WoW. And I feel like it's also another way to draw in some new players, but what kind of a system should they have, kind of deal, I guess is the question that comes up. Should they have a new player-friendly system, or should it be as vanilla as possible for those people that did play back in vanilla? Well, I think there could be contentions made on both sides, and I would think part of playing vanilla WoW, well, mostly should be all about you are choosing to play vanilla WoW experience. So there are going to be some things that you don't like, oh, you can't transmog gear. Yes, you're going to have to look a little bit goofy until you get that Bloodfang set, but I think that's part of the experience. Not having achievements, stuff like that, part of the experience. Not having LFGQ, part of the experience. Get to know everybody in your server type of deal. You know what I mean? But I think there are some concessions where I feel like you could add a few things for the player that doesn't actually play vanilla servers all that much. For example, maybe new player models or upgraded textures to, let's say, the ground or some of the environmental stuff. You know, maybe some updated to the cobblestone inside of Stormwind. You know what I mean? Just a little bit better updates. Because the game was, again, made way back then and was made to run on a potato. With a lot of people's rigs right now as they are, you can run the game beautifully in 60 FPS and probably more unless the game is capped for back then, which is a possibility. I'm not a game developer or anything. I feel like there is a potential to maybe add textures or even models where, let's say, they remaster or rework games that you used to play way back in the day, and sometimes those games may feel jarring, like, for example, Oblivion. I think a lot of us played Elder Scrolls at one point or another. Oblivion is a beautiful game, it's a great game, and in some cases it's better than Skyrim. At least I feel like that. It is in terms of its leveling, in terms of its, I guess, different, not professions, but different skills that you can level, from acrobatics to speech and how that functions, to all the different, I guess, elements, the guilds, I guess the storyline for the most part I thought was really, really good. But Skyrim looks absolutely beautiful. Would I play Oblivion in terms of its storyline and how the quests work, but with the graphics of Skyrim, I think that would be that much better. Because I would go back to Oblivion and it feels a bit jarring to see all the textures, all the models, even the way that some NPCs interact. So I feel like if Blizzard can add, I guess if Elder Scrolls guys would add like a fresh new coat to their game, but keep the same elements as they were from back in the day, I think it'll be a great new experience. And I feel like they could almost kind of like just add that as a mode, kind of like for Halo Combat Evolved. If anybody played that, Halo Combat Evolved was basically Halo 1. When they remastered it, they made it 2 versions that were running simultaneously, or one version with like 2 different graphic presets. So you could either go for high-res graphics with the updated version, or you could switch back to the old school graphics. I feel like that should be an option, because it really comes down to the player preference, like what does the person see? It doesn't actually affect the game. Things like transmog, things like achievements, I think those things should be on the I guess on the setup of what vanilla WoW was like back then. The general playstyles and concepts should be there, but updating graphics, I feel like that's something where you can find a middle ground. And since Blizzard is basically trying to, from what I've seen from the dev cooler, basically try to bring back vanilla WoW almost from the ground up using their current Legion engine that they're using right now in order to make the game come to life, I feel like it would be that much easier to do if that's the type of product and if that's the type of project and that's the type of way they're going about it. You know what I mean? I think if it just looks visually, I think it's perfectly fine. But if it actually, you know, impacts on gameplay and people linking achievements, and that's not something you did way back then, I don't think that's where I think that's where you take away too much from experience. But I don't know. I guess you guys can leave me your comments below. Do you think this should be better textures, or should it be part of the experience, like the lower textures and the original models? Do you think it should be part of it all, or it's fine to update a few things, like casting animations? I think would be kind of cool. You know, player models, lots of the textures, maybe, actually that's really about it. That's really about all I can think of. Maybe mounts, maybe even mounts, just so they even look prettier than, you know, what the original ones were, because there was just technology wasn't the same back then. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'd like to hear from you guys if anybody is going to be playing Classic WoW, and really would like an answer on, like, the PvP, PvE, and the time investment comment that I made earlier. If somebody actually knows, that would actually be pretty helpful. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. I'll see all of you in another video.